Hey friends, today I'm here to just say a few more words about this issue of perfectionism that we've been discussing in the last couple of videos. Today, let's just go ahead and dig in a little bit deeper. I want to talk about the root causes of perfectionism in our life. So if we think about it kind of like a plant, so obviously with a plant, you have the roots underground, which you can't really see. And then you've got, well, let's call it a weed, because that's probably more like what perfectionism is in our life, right? So you've got the weed above ground that you can see, which kind of lets you know there's a problem. There's some things growing here that we don't want. So what we've been talking about in the previous videos are the symptoms of perfectionism, how perfectionism manifests itself in our daily life. And that's like our weeds. So procrastination, indecision, stopping and starting are all things that we talked about, right? So today, I want to talk about what's under the surface that cause these things to spring up in the first place. So we see the symptoms. Let's take a look at the root, okay? So if you're willing to dig a little bit deeper and get deeper healing on this, I want to encourage you to do a really simple exercise. It takes a little bit of courage, but I can say that it has really helped me time and time again to see root issues and then get healing for those so that the symptoms ultimately can go away for good. So I want to encourage you this week to grab a journal and carve out some time where you can have a little bit of solitude. I would say at least 30 minutes. If you can put your phone away and just really be without distractions and just give yourself this gift of some time. I think it can be super, super helpful because it has been for me. What you're going to do is just ask yourself this one question. What is a time in my life, probably in my childhood, in my past, where I felt like doing my best really wasn't good enough? When did I put myself out there and do my best, and it was communicated to me, or I felt like my best wasn't good enough? If it wasn't perfect, it wasn't good enough. So I'll give you a couple of examples just to kind of get your mind working. And if you have lots of examples that come to mind, just jot all of those down. So it could be that, in elementary school or high school, you signed up for the school talent show, and so you decided to play an instrument or sing or in some way kind of put yourself out there with your talent, and a teacher or a parent or possibly even the other kids criticized you and sent you the message that if you messed up or you made a mistake or it wasn't perfect or it didn't meet their expectations, that it just wasn't good enough. It could be that in your academics, you tried really hard in a class and you got a B or a C, and it was made known to you that even if you were doing your best, that was really unacceptable. It could be that if you were involved in sports, you played your heart out, but you didn't score that winning point that the team really needed. You weren't good enough. It wasn't perfect, and so it just wasn't good enough. So that's a couple of examples just to kind of get your mind going. And so after you write about whatever those experiences were, just kind of jot them down, write down the story that happened. The second thing, and this is the part that takes a little bit of courage, is to allow yourself to put yourself back in time as a child or however old you were at that time and feel the feelings that you would have felt then. And basically, this is a grieving process. What I have found when I do this exercise is that I realize that, 5th grade Heidi or 9th grade Heidi or however old I was, at that time, I didn't have the emotional IQ. I didn't have the tools really to process my emotions very well. And so I probably just shut down, and, part of my heart probably kind of closed around that wound, and I never really processed it really well. And so this is giving that part of you that was a child then and was wounded, you're kind of honoring that wound, and you're, as an adult now that has more resources, that has the emotional IQ to be able to do this, feel those feelings and feel that grief a little bit. And it's at this point that I really want to encourage you that if you feel like you're getting overwhelmed, or you feel like you get stuck in that sadness, definitely reach out to a counselor, reach out to a pastor or somebody in your support group. You don't have to walk through this process alone. I have a 12-step community. I have a counselor that I go see sometimes when I get stuck in my processing. And sometimes, you just really need a little bit of encouragement along the way. So don't be afraid to reach out if you need it. But then this is where the freedom comes in, because after you've written that down and you felt some of those feelings, and you can kind of see the grief, or you can see the sadness that you would have felt as a child when you did your best and you were criticized. Now, as the adult version of you that is recovering, that is healing, that has so many more tools to work with emotionally, to process, you can look back on that situation and really start to speak truth into that situation in a way that you just couldn't when you were a child, And so, for example, that could even look like if there was other kids that, criticized you. As an adult, you're probably able to see that those kids probably had their own insecurities, and maybe they thought they were going to get a couple of laughs by saying something mean, or it certainly doesn't excuse it. But as an adult, we can see, some kids are immature and sometimes they're mean, and it was most likely more about them and what they had going on really than you. If it was a teacher, you might even be able to now look back as an adult and remember, wow, that teacher was just kind of a miserable person, and she was always nitpicking at people. Oh, I don't think that was really about me. That was probably just about her own issues. And even in the painful experience of remembering when a parent, didn't accept your performance, or couldn't be proud of you for getting a B, or whatever the situation is, as an adult that's doing your own work to heal, you might be able to look back and see the truth that that parent had their own wounding and their own dysfunction, or whatever they were going through. And you might be able to see that it probably wasn't really about you, but it was coming from their own wounding. It might even be coming from a place that they are super hard on themselves, and so all they knew to do was to be hard on you as well. So those are just some ways that, as I look back when I've done this exercise, and then I can kind of look back, from the perspective of my adult self that is healing now, and I can look back on my childhood experience of wounding, I can really speak truth, into that situation, and I can see truth that I couldn't see and I couldn't process when I was a kid. And I think what happens is it shines light on places in our heart that are, have some darkness. And like I said before, where our hearts just kind of close around that wound, and we almost build scar tissue around them. And so what happens is, when that's not really healed, these weeds of perfectionism in our adult life spring up basically as coping mechanisms, because what we believe is that if we're perfect, if we don't give anyone a reason to criticize us or shame us, then we won't ever have to feel that hurt or that shame or that embarrassment that we felt back then, you know? But the problem is, as we've talked about in the previous videos, is that the standard of perfection is so unattainable, right? And so ultimately, if we are going to live any kind of courageous, authentic life where we're really being our best self and sharing that with the world, there's always going to be a time when we fall short of other people's expectations, of our own expectations. Sometimes we're doing a great job and there's just somebody having a bad day or somebody with a critical spirit that wants to, poke at us or criticize us. And the amazing freedom that comes is that when we can heal these wounds and see the lies that were in the past, and as an adult, be able to look at ourselves and say, all I can do is my best. And if I do my very best, that's excellent. And it brings God happiness when I operate in my gifts and talents to the best of my ability, even if that's not perfect. And that is the very best that I can do, and I can be proud of my effort. And anywhere that I stumble along the way, I can learn from my mistakes, and I can take that learning and bring it forward with me into whatever my next experience is. And that's really the best that any of us can do, right? So I'll leave you with one quote that has been really meaningful to me in my recovery experience. It comes from a counselor that I saw many years ago. Her name is Michelle Holloman. And I was in her office because I was having a perfectionism meltdown. I had sung, in front of people and made some kind of mistake, forgot a word or was a little pitchy on a note or something, and I went into this shame spiral, and like I've talked about, it does come from places in my past where I would put myself out there to sing when I was first learning, and probably was making mistakes, and somebody would criticize me. And I, having not dealt with those things yet, I brought them with me in my heart into adulthood. And so when I would continue to try to operate in that gifting, I didn't know how to do it except from this guarded place of trying to be perfect so that I wouldn't be criticized. And so I came into Michelle's office and was telling her about the experience and was just feeling so embarrassed that I made a mistake while singing on stage in front of people. And she listened and then just so kindly said, why don't you try loving the parts of yourself that are imperfect instead of hating them? And that has really stuck with me. And so I want to encourage you to think about that. Think about loving the parts of yourself that are imperfect instead of hating them. If you do this exercise and imperfect moments from your past come up from your childhood, love the part of yourself that was imperfect and made a mistake instead of hating that part of you. If you just had an experience this week where you put yourself out there at work or something and you made a mistake, I want to encourage you to love the part of yourself that's imperfect instead of hating that part of yourself. Next week, if you make a mistake, I want you to go into that adventure, whatever that is, whatever you're headed into. If you have a new position at work, or you want to go back to school, or whatever new adventure might be awaiting you, I want you to go into that empowered, knowing that you can do your best to be excellent. But then if anything falls short of perfect, that you can love the part of yourself that is imperfect instead of hating that part of yourself. Because I can tell you, the God that created you and gave you whatever idea that you're going to throw out there and act on, or whatever talent that you have that you want to use, whatever art you want to share, the God that created you and gave you that mind, gave you that talent, I want to tell you that He loves the parts of you that are imperfect and never, ever, ever hates them. So if you decide to do that exercise this week, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your experience, to hear some of the things that you learned and uncovered. I hope that it's really, really empowering to be able to see the truth about those old situations and speak truth into those situations and just let love and grace cover all of those wounds and heal them. So my next video is going to be just some super practical tips on how to reframe some of our thinking when we do get stuck. And so I think that will be an amazing way to just build on this deeper healing. So I hope that you'll join me for that next video, and I will see you next time.